looking at page 15, okay? We will do more with this map at a later time. Hills, valleys, lakes, and plains. As you fly over Antarctica, you will see only ice. Long ago, ice and snow covered Indiana too. We call this period the Ice Age. During the Ice Age, huge masses of ice called glaciers, everyone say glaciers, moved south from the north. Glaciers covered many parts of North America. For almost 400,000 years, glaciers covered the northern 2/3 of Indiana. This is the historical, scientific report of what they believe happened, okay, and how things happened. Glaciers for almost 400,000 years, glaciers covered the northern 2/3 of Indiana. As the glaciers drifted, they changed the natural features of the land. They flattened land and cut the peaks off hills. All right. The glacier activity created 3 great landform regions in Indiana. A landform is a natural feature on the surface of Earth. Hills, valleys, lakes, and plains are types of landforms. Okay? So real fast, look at that map over to the right. Okay? So this is a different map than even we just looked at because we talked about there's so many different kinds of maps, right? So this one, do you see how it's split into 3 sections? Do you all see that? There's yellow, orange, and red. So the yellow and orange part, they believe, was covered up by ice and snow for a long time. Okay? So the yellow part is called the Great Lake Plains. The orange is the Tipton Till Plain, and the red is the Southern Hills and Lowlands. Now, keep that in mind while we read this next part. North of Indiana, the glaciers also dug huge holes. These holes became lakes and ponds. Okay, so you know how up north of where Michigan is, there's those Great Lakes, the Great Michigan Great Lakes. Those, they say, were caused by the glaciers digging into the ground. Is a glacier literally standing there with a shovel digging? No, by digging they mean it's the way it moved, dug in, and started to tear something out of the ground. Makes sense? Now we call the northern region of Indiana closest to Michigan the Great Lakes Plain. It's called the Great Lakes Plain. You can remember that because the Great Lakes are north of Indiana, right? So that's why the northern part of Indiana is called the Great Lakes Plains. Okay? Makes sense? In the middle of the state, the glaciers left large amounts of till. Till is the soil and rock that gets trapped in glaciers. Everyone say till. Till is soil and rock trapped in glaciers, okay? So it left a lot of soil and rock from the glaciers. This region of the state is called the Tipton Till Plain, okay? It's called Till Plain because it left a lot of till in the middle, right? These are ways to remember because kind of a good way to think, though, guys, if I'm making a side note and I'm making a big important deal about it, it means it's probably going to be on papers and the tests, and that's why I'm helping you find ways to remember it, okay? Make sense? All right, everyone look back down and keep reading. The lower 1/3 of the state is different from the rest of the state because it has many hills and valleys. It was not as affected by glaciers as areas to the north. We call this region the Southern Hills and Lowlands. If it's called Southern Hills and Lowlands, it's probably to the south, right? Because there will be a time where it's going to draw you a part of Indiana, and it's going to say, what's this section called? What's this section called? What's this section? So we have, what's up here? Great Lake Plains. Then we have
Tipton Till Plains
and
Southern Hills and Lowlands.
good. Like I said, if I'm making a big deal out of it, it's because it's going to come up a lot. All right? Go ahead and turn the page. Indiana's waterways. Indiana's waterways have helped make our state the crossroads of America. Remember, the crossroads of America is Indiana's motto. Waterways include lakes, rivers, and streams. Early settlements and small towns grew up around lakes and rivers. Before train travel, people built canals to link rivers. These canals made transportation of goods and people much easier. So before there were trains and cars, people would travel by boat if they were going somewhere where they could, because the boat was faster than a horse and buggy, right, Keegan?
I believe that's in Australia.
They can do that. They do it in other places too, but we're talking about Indiana today too, mainly. So that's how Indiana used to travel, and that's why the waterways were so important, because then they could get their goods all the way. Because we'll find out later, there is parts of Indiana that connect all the way to the Lake Mississippi River, okay? And that goes all the way down the country, okay, into the ocean. So our waterways connect to the big lakes and to the ocean. So that's why we were called the Crossroads of America, okay? Put that in your crate. At first, canal boats were pulled by horses and mules. Then boats with steam engines took over. These boats could move more easily, even against the current. Lake Michigan gives Indiana the identity as a Great Lakes state. The 41 miles of shoreline on Lake Michigan form part of our northern border. It is a major location for industry. Industry means business, okay? The lake also links Indiana to Canada and to the Atlantic Ocean. Glaciers carved about 400 lakes into the northern region of Indiana. The state's largest lake is Lake Wawasee. Wawasee. That's how I guessed to spell that. Yep, Wawasee. That's what we're saying because that's what I guessed last year. It has 18 miles of shoreline. Its name comes from an American Indian chief whose nickname was Old Flat Belly. Okay? The Wabash River is probably Indiana's most famous waterway. In 1897, composer Paul Dresser published On the Banks of the Wabash Far Away. It is now the state song of Indiana. The Wabash flows across northern and central Indiana. Then it turns and flows south to Terre Haute and onto the Ohio River. As it flows toward the Ohio River, the Wabash forms part of the border between Indiana and Illinois. Finally, it joins the Ohio River, which is the border between Indiana and Kentucky. Our waterways can be a place... Hold on, I lost my spot. Our waterways can be a place for fun too. People enjoy boating and canoeing. Lakes and rivers are also the setting for fairs such as the Feast of the Hunter's Moon in Tippecanoe County. Hoosiers also hold races on waterways. These include the Madison Regatta on the Ohio River and the Sugar Creek Canoe Race in Crawfordsville. Okay, so it's going to be a little hard to see at first, okay? But this is Indiana, okay? You can't see all the top, but just pretend, okay? So, over here you can even see it. They do it just in canals and rivers. So, the Wabash, we were talking a lot about the Wabash, right? For the Wabash, it connects over here from Ohio, and we get our water from the Lake Erie, okay, the Lake Michigan, and it comes in here and it becomes the Wabash and Erie Canal. And then the Wabash River flows all the way here, all the way down, and it goes into the Ohio River. The Wabash also becomes part of the border of Illinois, okay? So, then it flows down here, goes like this, and then it goes into the Ohio River. The Ohio River, look over here, borders Indiana and Kentucky, okay? The Wabash goes and goes and goes, and it connects And that's why the Wabash is such an important waterway of Indiana, and that's why the song Wabash on the Wabash is the state song. Okay? You can also see these blue lines, and you're thinking, what's that? These are the 3 landform regions. So without looking, who can remember what this one was? Bolean. Someone else? Keegan?
The Indiana 500.
Nope. The Great,
Lake River.
close. The Great Lakes region. Okay? What about this one? Has something to do with the till. Close. Tipton.
Hill.
Tipton Till.
Tilton.
Ben?
Tilton.
No. Tipton Till Plain. Okay? The plain is Plain. Nope. Yep. It's that plain meaning flat. Okay? Plain as in flat land. So remember, it smoothed out the land and then left the till. Okay? So Tipton Till Plain. Tipton is also right here, the county of Tipton. Okay. This part, who remembers this one?
South.
Southern.
Southern.
Keegan. Grace.
Southern Hills and Valleys.
Close. Southern Hills and Landforms.
Oh,
Lowlands and lowlands. I was looking at the wrong thing. Southern Hills and Lowlands. Okay? So, that's what those are. And that's looking at our map and seeing the connection, okay? Alright, so go ahead and turn the page. Now you're looking at page 18. Links to the world. You have read how Indiana's waterways have helped make the state of the crossroads of America. Some of these waterways, however, link Indiana not just to other states, but to the whole world. The Ohio River carries more low-cost freight than the Panama Canal. The Ohio River flows into the Mississippi River, which in turn flows to the Gulf of Mexico. From there, goods can be shipped all over the world. So, we talked about how it goes into the Mississippi River. Well, when it goes into the Mississippi River, it can go all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, and then it can go anywhere because it's in the ocean. Okay? Southwind Maritime Center near the town of Mount Vernon in Indiana is Indiana's largest port on the Ohio River. Portage, about 10 miles east of Gary on the shores of Lake Michigan, is Indiana's largest port city. It connects Indiana to the world by way of St. Louis Seaway. From this port, enormous ships called freighters carry Indiana steel and other products to markets around the world. So that's why the waterways are so important. So now we're going to look at a worksheet page. Do not close your books because you will want to probably use your books to help answer some of these questions, okay? All right.